Surviving My 80s, and this is Saturday Story Time. And I was talking about our old deserted house that we had found and we moved into and we renovated. And last week we ended off where we are just considering moving because my mother has become very ill, and my folks lived in Idaho, we were in Oregon. But before we leave, I want to tell you at least one story, maybe two, about things that happened there. The kids, all four of them, had somehow found a dog house, and they had put wheels under it, and it was quite a large dog house. And one of the kids would crawl inside, and then the others would sort of push it down our driveway, and our driveway was quite long, and it was on a hill, and so it would just go along, and the object was that it wouldn't crash over the side, but it would go clear down to our road. And the paved road was a dead-end street. It only served the houses that lived a few houses beyond us. So it wasn't a very busy street. Anyway, they convinced me one day to get into that doghouse. They were going to take me down. Well, I just washed my hair, and you remember the big pink rollers? Well, I had big pink rollers all over, and they got me into the doghouse, and they pushed me down, and then they ran beside me, and somehow I made it clear down. I didn't crash. I went around, it curved down onto this little paved road, and as I came onto the little paved road and all four kids just laughing and running with me, a car came by, and I could not believe. I looked at the driver, and he just looked like he saw dog houses all the time passing him. It was no surprise look, no smile, no nothing. And there it just went by me. Anyway, I got out, and there it was. And anyway, it was just one of those funny happenings that you had to be there to make it really funny. But I also, when I turned 40, I bought a store. And it was a little variety store. It was in the next town over. It was across the bridge, and it was funny. The bridge hadn't been put in until years later. The two towns were there, and then the bridge was finally put in. And the people on this side of the bridge didn't know a lot of people on the other side of the bridge, because for years there hadn't been that way to get across very easy. They had to go way around to get to that other little town. But because I bought the store in that other town, I got sort of acquainted with both sides of the river. And the store had been there for a long time, and it was just a little store. It sold all sorts of things in it. I had fabric, I had gift cards, yarns, crochet needles, knitting needles, cups. We sold flowers, like at Valentine's Day and different occasions like that. And so what I would do, I finally took my sewing machine, and we sold patterns. I took my sewing machine over, and when there was nobody in the store, I would sew. And people began to say, hey, you should sell your stuff. And, well, it was getting near Christmas time, and I was really making gifts, so I wasn't... I think it's off.
No, it's on.
Okay. I wasn't interested in selling. But they kept saying that, and I kept making stuff. And finally, and Tom at home was making things, and I talked to him about it. And we said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll make some stuff. We'll go to the next craft sale. It was in another little town close to us. And we sort of prayed, if we sell $100 worth of things, that will think this is what we should be doing. And we went and we sold $1,000 worth of stuff. And so we decided, hey, we're going to do this again. And so that began actually for beginning there. That's really how we made our living. And you know, it's really not an easy way to make a living, because I would either, and finally we sold the store. I kept selling things, making things and selling them. But when we sold, because I still had a wholesale license, I was able to buy fabric, and I either sewed 8 hours a day or figured that I'd made so much money of sewn objects that day. And I sewed so much I could taste it in my mouth, the fabric, and it was sort of a sweet taste. But finally, when it came to the end, we were at a craft show, and I recognized somebody that used to come into my store. I'd only met her a couple of times, and I remembered her name, and so I started talking to her, and it wound up that I sold our house to that woman. They had 4 children, 3 little boys and a girl, just like we had had, and I sold them the home. And then we were committed. We were on our way to Idaho. And so that's where I'll leave you. And I love that place there. I cried when we left, but we were on to the next adventure. And this is what I want to tell you next Saturday, because it is really it needs help, the next place. Okay, so with that, have a good day, and that's your Saturday story.